Hey everyone, so I am doing a Nintendo retrospective for their 125th anniversary. I'm playing my top 25 games leading up to my very first list video, my top 25 Nintendo games. It doesn't need to be Nintendo developed, but it does need to be Nintendo published. And in today's case, I'm going to go ahead and load this restore point, only because it makes things, honestly, a little bit nicer. I've got Golden Sun for the GBA. Playing this off my Wii U, obviously, as you can see. I went ahead and skipped past the prologue, only because it honestly drags on to me. I could have dealt with it being like skipped, to be quite honest. There really isn't much going on. There's not much. I mean, it's just all story and exposition, which isn't a bad thing. This is 100% a JRPG. That's a thing that is going to happen in a JRPG. But it drags on for, I don't know, about 15 minutes, depending on, you know, how quick you can kind of get through it. So this is a JRPG, blah, 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 JRPG, and as you can see, they have some magic type things that you could do. You saw the hand come out and he pushed that log. That's a big portion of the game. And they're talking about the accident 3 years ago, and what they call their power is psi energy, and each person kind of has a little bit of a different psi energy usage. They don't all do the same. Like, not every person can do the same things. Some people can't even use psi energy at all. So there is, I don't know if there is a prejudice in the game, like if there's like a weird split between people who can use psi energy and who can't use psi energy. To be honest, it's been quite a while since I've played through the story, but honestly, like it is a fantastic game regardless. I mean, this is really high up on my list, and this is a GBA game. I played this game about non-stop when I got it. I don't remember how I got it. Yes, I do. I remember exactly how I got it. So I had been fooling around with GBA games, and at this point, I didn't know too much about nerdy stuff. I was a nerdy kid, obviously, but I wasn't like major. I knew what Magic the Gathering was. I had been exposed to that in the 6th grade. I might have been in the 7th grade when I had this game. What year was this? What year did this come out? 2001? 2000? If it was 2001, I was in 7th or 8th grade. Right. So I was living with my mom. That's primarily where I played my GBA, because at my dad's I had console games. Not that I didn't bring my GBA with me. Nah, don't think about the accident. I'm also not even paying attention to the story, so it's kind of bifurcated for you guys. It's kind of weird, but you can pause and read all of this if you really want to. But the story's good. I just don't want to. The point of the series is I don't want to spend too much time spoiling the story for some of those who haven't played it, or give you just a little bit of a taste for like kind of like, well, you can't really get the entire package unless you play a game, honestly. But give you a little bit of the package. Whoops. Wow, the screen smoothing in this game looks pretty good. I totally got off on a tangent. So the cool thing about the Wii U is that you could do screen smoothing. It actually looks pretty decent in this game. I generally play with it off, but it actually doesn't look too bad in this one. Anyways, I was saying, so I was living with my mother half the time living with my father, the other half of the time during the week, split weeks. Primarily, until I had my PS2 with my mother, and then later an original Xbox. I didn't have a console with her. I had primarily my GBA, and now I had flirted, in the past with an N64 being there, or very seldomly would I bring my 64 from my father's with me to my mother's. And then I had, this story. And then I had, a Super Nintendo. I still can't I can't remember if we rented it or if there was if I got it by some other means for like a very short period of time. But either way, it was common for me to play video games at both places, but it wasn't common for me to, mom's falling through the roof. It wasn't common for me to play console games at my mother's primarily. So mostly it was the GBA. Some Pokemons, some Marios. I remember specifically, and this is what ties into this game in particular. So me and my mom used to go places. My mom is fairly young. She had me when she was 18. So when I was in middle school, she was in her mid-20s. No, she was in her early 30s because she's 41 now. So she was, she was in either her late 20s or early 30s. I think she might have turned 30 when I was in middle school. I graduated middle school 2001 or 2. No, 3. 2003. Because 2001 I was in 6th grade. 9/11 happened. That's right. I was in 6th grade when 9/11 happened. So that's how I'm trying to piece major events and time periods. So no. 2001 I was in 6th grade. So this game was 2002, 2003. I was in 7th grade, if I remember correctly. So me and my mom, we went places a lot. She was a younger woman. My dad was really young too. I think he was 21, 22 when I was born. So he was also always really young, but he worked at night and we went places, but we didn't always go a lot of places. Me and my mom, we liked to go places. She was always a person who went places, which is pretty ironic because I pretty much don't go anywhere nowadays. For pretty much almost only always because of a lack of money. But so we went places. We like to drive around places. I think she tried to want to be the fun mom. And she learned later on, especially when my dad moved to Alabama and I moved back from Alabama back to California and I was in high school, that she couldn't. And she tried, and she was still a fantastic mom growing up. It wasn't until later that her back problems caused more severe issues that weren't just physical. But early on, she wasn't as physically handicapped or as mentally handicapped as she is now to a certain extent. Where are some puppies playing? Really? Is that what... I forgot. That's what stops me from going in this direction. Goddamn puppies. Really? Okay. Anyways, so we went a lot of places. So it stands to reason I had my GBA with me a lot. They seem to know a little bit of Soul Sanctum's mysteries. Spoiler, 3 years ago, these are the two that knocked us the hell out. Wait, no, was it? Oh, anyways, they're trying to kidnap Kraden, which is part of the plot. So we went a lot of places. I had my GBA with me. I remember very vividly, I don't remember if I had the game yet or if it was... I got it on this very specific day, not Golden Sun. We were supposed to go on a field trip. And my mom was to drive me there, and she was supposed to chaperone, but it wasn't like a major thing. They already had more chaperones than they needed. So what me and my mom decided to do was, because it was a fun field trip and not more of a learning field trip, we just decided to skip out on it because why go? It would have been boring for her. It would have been boring for me. Looking back, I actually probably would have wanted to have gone a little bit, but I think I had more fun being with my mom that day, and we decided to stop at a GameStop. Well, we were at a mall, I believe, and there was a GameStop inside, and being the kid I was, I went in, looked around, asked my mom, "Hey, can I get a game?" And I saw Dungeons and Dragons: Eye of the Beholder. Yes, I'm planning to sneak. Eye of the Beholder. Wait, is it her that stops me? Right. We should go to his house. So I had that, and I'd been playing that a lot, and I couldn't get it. I wasn't into Dungeons and Dragons at that point. I knew what it was barely in passing, never played it, had a little bit of exposure to the board game. By the way, this all leads up to Golden Sun, so I'm not like on a weird random tangent, though I am on a weird and random tangent, but it all leads to Golden Sun. So I was playing it. I knew what RPGs were, obviously, at this point, and I wasn't quite grasping the forward-facing, the menus. Also, this is a computer RPG that was truncated to a GBA with less buttons and a smaller screen. So I didn't quite get the translation to the smaller screen. I played it and I had a little bit of fun, but I was lacking. So it was sometime later, and I think we found ourselves at a mall again. So we lived in a town called Escondido in California, in Southern California. It's the San Diego sort of county. It's not really San Diego County, but that's kind of what everyone referred to it as, more or less. And there was a mall. It was an open-aired mall. So there was no ceiling. It was open. I mean, this is Southern California, where they can kind of get away with doing most of that. It was half and half. It was some indoors, some mostly outdoors, and so we were there as well. And there was another GameStop. We stopped in, and I had been playing Eye of the Beholder, but I couldn't quite get it. So I don't know if I traded it in at this point or if I had traded it in a little bit previous, but I wanted a new game. And so I saw this sitting there at that mall, and I remember going, that looks interesting. And by interesting, I mean the name was kind of cool, Golden Sun. And I'm also wandering around. I forgot where to go. I forgot where Kraden's house is. And by art or cover, I looked at the front of the cart. Like, I didn't see the box. It was in their glass case. So I didn't have really much art to look at. I didn't have a back of a case to look at. So I grabbed it, picked it up, not knowing what the hell it was, and I embarked on this journey of this game. I couldn't have told you that it was an RPG at the time. Like, I just didn't get it. I didn't get much of the systems. Like, I didn't get the gin. I wasn't for looking for all the secrets. I was in middle school, and wrapping my head around Ocarina of Time's secrets and Majora's Mask's secrets was still hard for me to do. And I remember, playing Majora's Mask and going, "Oh my god, I've got this golden sword. Oh my god!" Like, so take that. Obviously, Legend of Zelda is an RPG, but it's like on a smaller. It's not on as grand of a scale as, say, Golden Sun. So I didn't look for a lot of the secrets in the game. So I didn't unlock mostly everything. I didn't get all the Jin, but I played the game and I beat it. And I believe I barely beat the secret dragon, or was it the second game? Well, I beat it so much that the second game came out, and I input the code into the second game, and I played through that, and I beat it, and it was an experience. I'd never linked two games before. I never imported saves before. Like, that was still a new thing to me. Like, Arc the Lad is my favorite example of this. You play the first game, You import your game, your save from the first one into the second game, and then you import your second game's save into the third one. So it's a long line, and you get something special at the end if you did that right. Another popular one is, at least more recently, is something like Mass Effect, the Mass Effect trilogy. At the time, for me, that was relatively new, and I did it, and I beat both games, and I loved the crap out of it. I played those games everywhere, and I didn't have a GBA SP. I had a GBA, whereas I didn't have a backlight. I had a warm light sometimes, but that thing drained the batteries to all hell. So I remember in the car, and if you're driving forward and the sun's facing in front of you, even nowadays, like with backlit screens, it's still kind of hard to see them. The backlight helps, obviously, but I remember, cranking my head down, looking towards my chest. If you could kind of picture that, if you like look towards your chest, and then like I'm holding my Wii U gamepad right now, but you can like hold a 3DS or something that's a GBA size. Kitty, don't. That's my box. He's trying to make love to my Love with Food box that I just got. Not sponsored by Love with Food, but Love with Food, if you're listening, which I highly doubt you are, I wouldn't mind doing something. Pay me. Thank you, maybe. Anybody. I would take that in a heartbeat, by the way. So yeah, imagine looking at your chest and then holding that object, towards you. And then but tilting it towards the sun so that you can see it. And in the car for 20 or 30 minutes, just imagine trying to do that. And then when it would churn, then suddenly you'd get the sun behind you. And then you can lift your neck up, and then you can kind of hold it up, and then the sun would start to hit it. I just try to imagine doing that all the time. And even in my house, or in my grandparents' house, that was still kind of a hard thing to do, to try to get the light just right. It was notoriously horrible for those things. I mean, but we played the crap out of it. We loved it. I loved it. So it's really awesome to play something like this. I got 5 coins. It's amazing to play something like this in fantastic quality. Very kept up very well. I don't know if it's going to pop up on the screen, but the GBA games. Oh yeah, okay, so I can't do that. On my bottom screen, it's showing me the words. It's showing me the manual for the game on the bottom screen. They just preserved this so well. I'm actually controlling it with it's on my bottom screen still, the manual. So that's really cool, and I don't think I can. Yeah, I can't pinch to zoom, but I'm looking at the Jin elemental spirits, which is something in this game that you can do and it's like magic, but you use them and they attack, and then they go into this waiting mode, and then if you attack with a couple of them, then you can unleash this bigger magic attack, and then they go to a waiting period. It's just a fun, cool RPG with some different systems. And I was a kid, I couldn't understand it fully, but I still had a blast. I remember at my grandparents', there was somebody who lived across the street. His name was Chris. He was in high school, so he was significantly older than me, but he lived in a Christian household. Though I don't think his dad was much of a practicing Christian, but he was more of he wasn't a goody two-shoes kid, but he wasn't the pot smoking or beer drinking, well, this was also early 2000s, so this even pot smoking wasn't really a huge thing at that point, at least as much as it is now for kids in high school, which is fucking ridiculous. Don't get me started on that one. But I remember him vividly. He was just a really nice kid. Had a Dreamcast. That was actually my first and only experience with a Dreamcast. Very fun. His sister was also extremely beautiful, and I had an absolute crush on her. Any chance I would get to go in her room or talk to her, I would instantly do that. She was amazingly beautiful. So it was just, he was an awesome person. I knew his friends. They were awesome people. They had a band. Oh, I can finally get into a battle. They had a band, and every so often they would practice in the garage, and I would go over and visit. They would go to the high school, which I also lived across the other side of my grandparents' house. So the front of my house was Chris's house across the street. And then along the back, they had a big backyard. Out from the back of that back gate from the backyard, across the street again, and then down a big drainage pipe area across that was the high school that they went to. I lived across the street from a high school for many years. So weird. But cool nonetheless. And so we would also go to the high school. I mean, obviously it was closed and all that, but we'd go and hang out a little bit over there. They were just really awesome people. Honestly, I kind of learned how to be a teenager from them. I wasn't like a really bad kid. I didn't do any of that crap. I don't do drugs. I actually hardly drink. I have a beer or two very seldomly every so often. Like, I honestly learned how to be my teenager and my adult self from them. I thought they just were cool people. And I don't know if they intentionally were setting an example for me as at that impressionable age, but I can clearly think back and I go, yeah, I modeled who I was because of these cool teenagers and what they were doing, which is very weird and like a self-conscious thing to say. Not self-conscious as in like it's a bad thing, but it's self-aware is probably the better term. I was more like that's just weird to be self-aware like that, even from such a young age. So I greatly put knowing him and his friends and his sister and his parents even to this game because they had a computer. We did not. They also had internet. So I would go over to his house all the time. No, I wanted to hang out with him and his friends, of course, all the time, but they had a computer. So every time I would go over, it would also be a cool bonus to use their computer and go to GameFAQs and IGN and look up things about this game I was stuck. Where the hell was I going? I remember looking up facts on GameFAQs about this game at his house, and that's the horribly slow internet. The games higher up on my list, and even some of the games lower on my list, they're higher up on it for a reason, because either the game left a great impression on me, like say in Internal Darkness, or the next game after this one, which I won't spoil, but I guess if you're watching this at a later date, which is going to be most of the views, you already know it because you can see it in the playlist. Oh, it's Paper Mario. That was the game left an impression on me, and it was also at a point in my life that I can remember fondly. There are either points in my life that I can remember specific details about, or the game was just impressionable on me to such a degree that it shaped my life as like I know it today. So for this game, I can vividly remember that specific point in my life very, very, very well. And it also shaped my life into loving RPGs. Granted, Final Fantasy and I think Legend of Zelda, you could probably say left a better impression for loving RPGs in my mind. And even Paper Mario, actually, because all of those came a little bit before this. But this definitely went a long way. And Eye of the Beholder was, to me, a mystery. I didn't know what Dungeons & Dragons was. So Eye of the Beholder is not on this list because I couldn't even remotely get anywhere in that game. And it didn't leave an impression on me. But it was only later that I linked that game to this game and was like, what was that game that I played at that time? And it wasn't until much later that I realized I remember because I started getting into Dungeons & Dragons later. And I was like, I know that character. That's a beholder. That was on the cover or on the cart of a game I like, of a GBA game, wasn't it? Oh, it was that. It was Eye of the Beholder, and I just kind of started to put two and two together. And I also later found the DOS versions, which are significantly better, if only because mouse and a keyboard goes a long way for those types of games. But Nintendo, man, you 100% shaped my life as a gamer. Forever, I will die playing video games. Maybe okay, I won't literally be dying in my last breath and I'm still playing Legend of Zelda or something, but you get my point. I will be playing video games until I'm 80, and it is no small part due to Nintendo. So with that said, this has been episode 23 of a planned 26. We are 2 more away. This is literally my third most favorite Nintendo game. Nintendo published this. This was developed by Camelot, not Nintendo. This was published by Nintendo. This is my third overall Nintendo game of all time. Now, my top 25 will probably change in years to come. They'll either release more games, or I'll get more acquainted to more 3DS games, or more Wii U games. But right now, this is my top 25 games list, and I love it that way. This is the third. We've got 2 more to go, guys, before we get to the 25th, and then 3 more to go, or no, still 2 more to go, I guess. So we get to the list video itself, compiling all my footage that I've gotten up to this point, and a script which I still need to write. Jesus Christ. Why have I waited so long? Honestly, I haven't purposefully waited. It's just kind of happened that way. But remember, guys, if you guys liked this episode, please consider subscribing, thumbsing it up, and sending it to your friends. I would greatly appreciate it, and it would help me out a lot. Remember, play more games, and I will see you next time. Have a good day.